Wow, your cars look so shiny.
Thanks. I've been taking them to Green Gorilla Car Wash. Thanks to their new ceramic application, my cars have never had such a glossy shine.
Sounds expensive.
You haven't heard about their sale? Right now, their Jungle membership with ceramic coating is half off for every vehicle. Instead of $30 per month, I'm only paying $14.99 from now until September 2022.
That's almost a whole year.
I know. My half-price membership is good at both Green Gorilla locations in the Valley.
I better head there now.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. On the Supreme Court draft decision leak, why pro-life supporters aren't exactly taking a victory lap. Hear what major groups are saying. Plus, could overseas travelers soon be able to ditch annoying COVID tests? Also behind the numbers released by the Labor Department, and more rules about making salaries of your coworkers public. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without a homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Kind of a cloudy, cool Saturday morning, and so we start another edition of the weekly Garden Guide with our host, Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. So glad to be here. And it is a little chilly outside.
Yeah. So. And they're talking the S word tomorrow, I think.
Or Monday.
Yeah,
or Monday. Or Monday. Well, every day that we have that's rainy and cool means we don't have to water.
That's right.
So it's just accumulating water in our reservoirs, which is great. So
and good for the soil.
Last year I saw many farmers irrigating in early April, and here we are in early May, and nobody's had to irrigate yet. So it's a great start to the season. I know it's been a little bit cool. It's been definitely wet. I haven't been able to plant everything in my garden that I would like to, but
Yeah, I was trying to add it up here on our weather log that we keep, because we're an official reporting station for the National Weather Service. And just for the first few days of May, we got, I think, 1.15 inches here at the station. So that's amazing. That's a nice start.
We'll take it. Yep, we'll take it. And another storm coming tomorrow, and it looks like maybe a little bit on Monday. They're talking rain and snow.
Yeah,
rain and snow. So we should definitely talk frost protection and how to protect your tender crops. Definitely we can talk about what you can plant right now despite the weather and get things going. But, trees are in full bloom. I drove down, Second North here and coming to the radio station, and there's just trees all in bloom.
Yeah. Now, some of the flowering trees, it seems a little delayed this year, because I've seen it in late April.
Yeah, definitely delayed this year. Yeah, definitely delayed. So I've been looking at some of my photos, because I'll take pictures of really gorgeous trees. So I'll have them like a little catalog of pictures when people come in and say, "Hey, what's your favorite tree?" It's like, "Ooh, here's this one," or "Oh, here's this one. This is what it looks like when it's in bloom, and here's what it looks like in the fall." And I'm looking at like dates on some of those pictures, and a lot of my flowering trees usually around the 20th of April. They're in bloom, and here we are the 7th of May, and some of the crab apples aren't even in bloom yet, and my apples are just starting to crack open to flower. So, but pears have been blooming. So, fire blight is prevalent during periods of warm weather, followed by periods of cool and wet, while the trees are in bloom. So, we definitely need to talk fire blight prevention today.
72 degrees yesterday.
Yeah. So nice warm day. So then you get some moisture, you get some higher humidity. That bacteria spreads like crazy, and unfortunately, the bees are a little bit of a culprit of spreading that around as well too. And so we definitely need to talk fire blight. And then all the stone fruits are finishing up blooming. And so we've got, peaches, apricots, plums, cherries. They're really susceptible to a couple diseases: shot hole fungus, crinium blight, peach leaf curl. Got a little bit of bacterial canker possibly as well, too. Best time to prevent that is right after the blossoms come off. So just at what's called shuck split, right when the fruit has set and it's just starting to crack open. And that's just shortly after the blossoms fall off the trees. And so this is perfect time to try and prevent that as well, too. So we got some critical timing on some sprays that we need to apply just because of the weather. Some frost protection we can talk about. Tender crops you can plant that will be okay if we have frost in the next couple weeks, and they're predicting frost on Monday and Tuesday.
What is the typical date for the last frost?
Last frost is generally the 20th to the 23rd of May.
So we got
for Cache Valley
quite a ways.
We got another 10 days at least. Yes, we got another almost 2 weeks that we could potentially have frost. So we want to definitely protect some plants if you want to get some out early. And boy, the weeds are just going crazy with all this moisture the last month or so. Weeds in my garden have taken off. I got some spinach planted. I got my carrots planted. I got some kohlrabi planted. The deer have nibbled on those already, so I got to get my fence up. And the peas are looking great. The spinach is going crazy, but there's weeds coming up like mad in there, and I just have not had a chance to get out there and weed too much. But did get the beets and the carrots and the chard planted the other day. I was hoping to do potatoes today, so I'm just hoping rain doesn't start too early tonight so I can get home and get my potatoes planted.
And it looks like mostly it's just a slight chance of rain during the day today. So it's just the clouds ahead of the storm.
Just kind of cloudy and cool. But it is Mother's Day weekend, so this is a great weekend to come into Anderson Seed and Garden. Of course, we've got gorgeous hanging baskets right now. The greenhouses are full of flowers. I've got a few tropicals that we brought in just for Mother's Day. So we've got some beautiful mandevilla, some sun parasols. We brought in a few citrus. Got some gorgeous Japanese maples that make wonderful gifts. If you're looking for a gift for Mom and she likes to garden outside, we've got some amazing plants, some really, really lovely plants to choose from. But the vegetable greenhouse is full. I just filled up our nursery section with all kinds of shrubs and trees. We've got more coming next week, and we just got in 450 roses. So we've got some beautiful, beautiful roses that are just ready to start blooming. So they've got tons of buds on them. They're just ready to start popping open. Perfect gift for Mother's Day if Mom likes roses. I can give her some roses that last longer than just a week.
I may have to stop by and pick up some for my wife because she's out of town this weekend, but we'll be back on Sunday, Sunday afternoon. So I may just have to stop by.
Beautiful roses. So the roses look great. Hanging baskets. Seriously, the greenhouses are just loaded with hanging baskets and lots of color. And it just really feels like spring. So if you're not enjoying the cloudy weather and cooler temperatures today and you wish it were a little bit more spring-like, just come into the store and you'll be able to enjoy the smells and the sounds and the feel of spring inside our greenhouses despite the weather outside. And we've got some special items for mothers today. So we'll be giving out cookies to some of our customers today. So if you stop in with your mom, we'll be giving out a few cookies as well too. So we had Bluebird put some nice cookies together. I don't have cookies for everyone that comes in, but and I'm sure
if I come by, I may not get a cookie.
I'm sure it's gonna be really busy today, so we won't have a lot of time to be out passing out cookies. But we'll be giving out some cookies to the moms that are coming into the store, and we have a limited number of those. So you may want to come in earlier than later. We'll see how that goes. But a lot of great things happening at Anderson Seed and Gardens. A lot of our flowering trees are in bloom, so you can see what they look like. And lots of perennials came in this week as well too. So loaded up the greenhouses this week just for Mother's Day weekend, and that's a great time to come in. Of course, we've got a lot of other things that Mom might be interested, whether it's gloves or hats or tools or got some great outdoor decor, some beautiful signs that you can hang up inside as well as out. So a lot of fun things going on at Anderson's this weekend.
All right. Yeah. And, of course, this is the Garden Guide program is a call-in program. So if you have a question for Mark this morning, our lines are open, 435-753-5868. And the toll-free line is something I don't give out on the air very often, but I think you know it by heart.
It's 1-800-369-5868. And, phone lines are open. We'll take your calls. We're talking weeds, box elder bugs, and elm seed beetles have popped up out of the woodwork like crazy this week with the sun coming out. So I've got a lot of people coming in trying to get those under control. And great time to fertilize lawns. So usually between Mother's Day and Memorial Day is when we recommend you put on your second application of fertilizer. And great way to green the lawn up. Get the lawn really healthy before it gets hot and dry this summer. If you're concerned about conserving water, now's the time to let Mother Nature take care of that. Get the lawn really healthy. Healthier your lawn is, the more able it will be to pick up moisture and to utilize that moisture throughout the summer when it does get hot. So great time to fertilize. Excellent time to control weeds. Even with the up and down weather today, a product like Weed Free Zone we would be able to use to control dandelions and clover and mallow and thistles and morning glory and stop those weeds before they really take off. I'm seeing lots and lots of dandelions all over the show. Yeah.
Our yard is dandelion central.
Dry year last year. The grass kind of went a little bit dormant, allows some weeds to get into the lawn, and then we're seeing the rewards of that, I guess, this spring because the weeds are going crazy. And with all the extra moisture we've had since the first part of March, we've had a fairly wet March and April, so it's really helped with our snowpack. It's really helped with our soil moisture. We haven't had to water it all, but it's made the weeds grow like crazy.
Yeah. So. I'm under orders from my wife to kill the dandelions, but I've also heard that you don't want to do that right away because you want to help the bee population.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you don't want to just immediately wipe out the dandelions. let the bees do their thing.
Let them bloom. And yes, lots of pollen on those dandelions, and the bees love that. And of course, there's lots and lots of pollen out for all the bee population right now, whether it's the flowering trees that are in bloom, the fruit trees that are in bloom, the dandelions that are blooming like crazy. It's a great time for the bees to be out picking up that early season pollen. And then hopefully alfalfa will be coming on here in the next month or so, and we'll see some blossoms there as well too. So call in with your questions or comments, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And at the top of the show, we talked about fire blight, all the beautiful trees that are in bloom. So trees that are susceptible to fire blight. In fact, we sent our newsletter out, our email newsletter out last night. And if you get our newsletter, watch that because it's got some great information on fire blight in there. It's got pictures of what the fire blight looks like, tells you what trees are affected by the fire blight and how to prevent that, and also how to cure that if your trees have picked it up, because it's a very damaging disease and it'll do a lot of damage to apples and pears, flowering crabs, flowering pear, gets into hawthorns, it gets into some of the like cherries a little bit, but not very often. But occasionally we'll see it into cherries. But it's mostly apples and pears. But you'll see it in cotoneasters. Sometimes it gets into raspberries as well too. And it's a bacterial disease that is spread around by wind, spread by bees, gets into the flowers, enters into the tree through the flower cup, and then it spreads through the tree. And it's just like getting a staph infection in your little finger that you don't do anything about it, and it spreads to the rest of your fingers and into your hand, and then it's into your arm and up to your elbow, and it just gradually works its way up, and it just continues to kill tissue on the trees. So it can really cause a lot of damage and really injure your tree, permanently, to the point where if you don't get under control in a season or two, it can take the whole tree out, and so you'll end up just having to replace the tree completely. So
definitely something you need to take care of.
Oh yeah. So right now, while we're getting warm weather mixed with rain and cool weather, and the trees are in bloom, this is the time you've got to try and do a little bit of protective applications of some fire blight spray. So you've got some options out there. You've got copper soap, There is fire blight spray from Fertilome, which is a streptomycin sulfate, which is an antibiotic, which works great. Garden Phos works excellent. The complete disease control. There's a lot of really good options. And you want to spray those trees while they're in bloom. Will not affect the bees. So if you've got bees out there, don't spray during the middle of the day when the bees are out having a heyday. But we would want to spray in the evening when the bees have gone home.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
okay.
So spray in the evening when they've gone home, and spray those blossoms so that it will kill that bacteria. And usually the recommendation is to spray right before a rainstorm or right after a rainstorm, because that's when the water splashes and hits the pollen on the stamens of the flowers, and it spreads it into the flower cup of the flower, and then it becomes active into the tree, so it'll work systemically into the tree. And so any of those sprays would work great right now, especially where it looks like it's definitely going to rain. And then maybe think about spraying next week as well too, because once that bacteria gets into your trees, it will really start to do a lot of damage. The Garden Phos you can use curatively as well too, so you can either spray it on the tree or apply it to the trunk, and it absorbs it into the trunk, spreads it through the circulatory system in the tree, and it will protect the tree from the inside out. So that's a really great option as well too that not many people know about. Garden Phos really does an amazing job on fire blight and a lot of other diseases that have been very problematic for a lot of our trees. So if you have pear trees, if you have apple trees, if you have hawthorns, if you have cotoneasters, even roses, it can get into roses a little bit, and definitely raspberries. Those are the ones you really need to watch out for. Pyracantha can get into those as well too. Mountain ash, I've seen it in mountain ash trees also. So there's quite a few trees to be aware of that you want to try and protect those trees while we've got perfect weather conditions for spreading fire blight, which is not a good thing. It's more of a bad thing. So yeah. Yeah. Phone lines are open. We're just waiting for those Mother's Day calls to come in. 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And not only do we have fire blight, but last year we saw a lot of shot hole fungus and ceridium blight, peach leaf curl, and bacterial canker on all the stone fruits. So with the stone fruits, we're talking cherries, we're talking peaches, nectarines, apricots, and plums as well too. And best time to prevent that, there's two critical times in the year when you want to prevent that. And one is when the blossoms drop off in the spring with a protective fungicide like the copper soap, the complete disease control. F-stop works great as well too. Garden Phos not so good for the shot hole fungus, but it does work on the bacterial canker. But right after all your blossoms are off on those stone fruits, that's when you want to make a preventative application. If it stays cool and wet through the month of May, like it has been so far, you may want to do another application about 2 weeks after the first application. But as soon as the weather turns warm and dry, end of May, 1st of June, we get that warm, dry weather, won't need to spray it anymore. And so, right now it's kind of critical to make that application. And if you have nectarines, while they're in bloom is when you want to spray for thrips as well too. And then I try and do it again right after the blossoms drop off. So it's a good time to control the thrips on the nectarines. The thrips get in the nectarines and they will make them cat face. So if your nectarines are kind of deformed and they've got like hard cracks going through the nectarines, that's an insect that actually attacks the fruit right after it sets on the blossom. Right after the blossoms drop off, right when the fruit sets early in the season, and they can do a lot of damage before the fruit even matures. And so it's critical you get that application on there if you're getting cat-faced nectarines. But for the disease control, right after the blossoms drop off, and then again 2 weeks later if the weather stays cool and wet, for shot hole fungus, for ceridium blight, for peach leaf curl, and also for the bacterial canker, which we've seen a lot of that in all the trees the last few years. The next time to spray it is right when the leaves drop off in the fall. So that's kind of a critical time to spray as well too for prevention for the next year. So that really helps a bunch. But phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, and 1-800-369-5868 if you need an 800 number to call in. So Bill, we got...
first up is Spencer calling in from awesome. Clifton, Idaho.
Good morning, Spencer. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning. Thank you so much for taking my call.
You're welcome.
I have a number of fruit trees, and some of them, they're working on 8 years old, and I feel like they should be bigger. Not sure if it's just a smaller root stock in there, but I do spray on a regular basis just to keep the weeds down, like a glyphosate around the base of them.
Sure.
Is that damaging overall? Would that have stunted growth, or are there other negative ramifications from doing that on a regular basis?
That is a great question. With the glyphosate, it has no soil activity, and it won't be picked up by the trees through the root system or through the bark. And so that should not be affecting your trees at all. If you were using a different herbicide, like, say, 2,4-D or Weedmaster, or anything with 2,4-D, dicamba in it, Trimec, any of those broadleaf herbicides that you would use, say, on your lawn to control all the dandelions that are out like crazy right now, that could definitely stunt your trees because that does have some soil activity. It is absorbed up by the root system. It will go through the bark of the trees, so you got to be really careful with that one. But the glyphosate or Roundup or Kills-All, no soil activity, and so that shouldn't be a problem. But if your trees are kind of struggling a little bit, definitely fertilize them. Make sure and fertilize those trees. A nice slow-release nitrogen with a balanced complement of micronutrients would be excellent. In fact, last weekend I fertilized all my fruit trees. Not my fruit trees, my father's fruit trees. I have a few fruit trees in my backyard, but Dad's got a little orchard. And, he never really fertilized them that much. And they do stay smaller, but it will affect the fruit production, so you don't get as much as you possibly could. And sometimes your fruit's a little bit smaller. So now's a really great time. Really good time to fertilize.
With the granular, then, just like a 16-16-16 on the fruit trees, then?
The 16-16 would be great if you can use something that has some micronutrients in it as well, too. The micronutrients really help the tree, like, produce and like the fruit get the right size, so the fruit will be a little bit larger. But what's most important about the micros is it flavors your fruit and your vegetables. And so if you're lacking some micros, your fruit doesn't taste as good as it could. And so over time, they're going to utilize all those minerals and micronutrients that are out there in your soil as the trees get bigger. They're just going to use that all up to the point where it can affect the production of your fruit. So one thing you can do is the 16-16 would be great because that's got the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potassium in there. But the micros are like copper, boron, zinc, manganese, magnesium, iron. All those micros actually really flavor the fruit up and will make them taste a lot better. So Fertilo makes a great fruit tree food. An organic one as well as a synthetic one, which would be excellent. And it's going to look just like the 16-16. It's granulated. Just broadcast it out there underneath your trees. I tried a new fertilizer myself this year, and it's called ProGrow 365. And the 365, it's a full season of nutrition for the plants. And again, it's an all organic fertilizer. It's got all the micros. It's got beneficial microbes and microorganisms, mycorrhiza in there to really get the root system going like crazy. So I'm going to try that on my fruit trees this year and see what a difference it makes. So I did mine about a week and a half ago, and I'm crossing my fingers to see what happens because a lot of those trees, Dad planted in an old corral, and there's just not a lot of nutritional value in there now after all these years. It's like all the compost, all that manure has broken down to the point where our trees aren't picking that up anymore. So.
Gotcha.
All right.
You specifically said copper, iron, magnesium. What were the other two?
Oh, so you've got zinc and boron and iron and there's like 6 major ones. We actually, with our fruit tree spraying service, we actually put micros into the fruit tree spray. And so when we're spraying for for insects through the summertime, we've got a micronutrient package that we actually mix in there and spray on the trees to help with the fruit production, and it works awesome. But all those micros will be written on they'll be on the label. They'll be printed on the label of what's in there. And so if you get a complete fertilizer, it will have a list of all the different micronutrients in there. Okay. And you don't need a lot of them. That's why they're called micros instead of macronutrients like the nitrogen and the phosphorus and the potassium. You just need a little bit of them. But over time, those trees will deplete that out of the soil. It will make a big difference on your trees, Spencer.
Thank you so much. We will we'll get that down. Appreciate your advice.
That sounds great. And don't worry about spraying the glyphosate. That's no problem. If you want something to prevent the weeds so you don't have to spray as frequently, Cazaron works great. So once you get in there and do your first application of glyphosate or Roundup and just kind of knock all those weeds and grasses and stuff down, put the Cazaron down, and it will prevent weeds from coming back for the rest of the year. And it won't hurt your fruit trees, and it wouldn't hurt shrubs, won't hurt raspberries, but it will stop all those weeds that are coming up from seed, and it will kill whatever weeds that the glyphosate didn't finish off. So it's a great one application, lasts for 6 months type product, and it will keep your orchard nice and clean.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great weekend, Spencer.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, we'll see you. All right. We have phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And we're already at the bottom of the show, Bill.
Goes fast.
It does go fast. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little short break, and when we come back, we'll be taking more calls. We'll be talking about tender crops. We'll be talking about frost protection. We can talk box elder bugs, weeds, and absolutely talk about Mother's Day, because it's Mother's Day weekend. Don't forget about Mom. A lot of things happening at Anderson Seed and Garden, whether it's gorgeous hanging baskets, hundreds of roses that just arrived this week. We don't even have space for all of them. We've got so many roses. And we might be giving a few cookies out this weekend. If you bring your mom in to Anderson Seed and Garden to check out the greenhouses, we might have a cookie left over by lunchtime.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yep. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on The Garden Guide.
I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News update this hour. It's brought to you by Adams Wealth Advisors. Well, politicians, friends, and colleagues paid tribute to the late U.S. Senator Orrin Hatch at memorial services in Salt Lake City on Friday. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell called Hatch an old friend and described him as a principled conservative, committed public servant, and a man of faith at the ceremony that was held in a chapel at the Institute of Religion in Salt Lake City. McConnell also joked about how Hatch would oftentimes pull out a paper and pen to write handwritten letters to people that sometimes didn't agree with him.
He'd compose heartfelt thank yous to constituents, to staff, to strangers. He'd even break out the stationery to thank Utah Jazz players for a big win.
After the service, Hatch was laid to rest in the Newton Cemetery with a full military right honor. And Mill Creek has given a $200,000 Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant earlier this week for a climbing wall that will be placed on the northeast corner of the new City Hall, which is currently being built. Now, once completed, Mill Creek City Hall will have the state's tallest outdoor climbing wall. The wall, which is now being developed by Local Vertical Solutions, will rise 81 feet vertically on its north and east slopes with a 55-foot-high Olympic standard speed climbing wall on the south side. About half of the building expenditures will be covered by the state grant. The city will put out a request for proposals for a climbing gym or company to run the climbing wall once it's completed. Well, that weather forecast calling for clouds and some scattered showers expected through this weekend as daytime temperatures are going to stay right around the low 60s with overnight temperatures right around the mid-30s with the clouds and chance of showers expected to continue into Monday. Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ent. The Sixers' Joel Embiid hearing MVP chants from the fans at Wells Fargo Arena as he returned from a concussion and orbital fracture suffered in Game 1. Fourth quarter, he drawn and won.
2 to shoot. He's hit. He puts it up and in. A remarkable shot. Embiid making an off-balance free throw line jumper. A deafening roar.
The call on 97.5, The Fanatic. The Sixers beat the Heat 99-79. Miami still with the edge in the series 2-1. The Mavs would force 8 first-half turnovers on Chris Paul on their way to a 103-94 win over Phoenix. Luka Doncic after the game.
The energy and the execution will be better. We trusted our shell, and that's what we got to do every game.
They cut the Suns series lead in half, 2-1. Hockey, Evander Kane picked up his first ever postseason hat trick in the Oilers' 8-2 rout over the Kings. This is ABC Sports.
Here's Chad, the lawn doctor, with a tip for your lawn.
Just a couple tips for this summer for a healthier lawn. Raise your lawnmower blade a notch or two. Longer grass helps conserve water and fight against stress. Double check your sprinkler coverage and watering times. Then call the lawn doctor to put down a grub preventative and to try our popular new 2-service soil enrichment program.
Fertilizer, weed, and pest control. Call the lawn doctor at 753-LAWN or go to LawnDoctorCashValley.com.
Mother's Day is here, and there's no better place to buy a gift that Mom will love than Cox Honeyland in South Logan. They have a huge assortment of gift baskets filled with some amazing goodies. If your special person loves to decorate outdoors, Cox Honeyland has outdoor spinners and garden decor on sale. Plus, don't forget to grab Mom some of their famous fudge or popcorn. That's Cox Honeyland and Gifts, 1780 South, Highway 89, Logan.
Taking the guesswork out of gardening. It's the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Good morning and welcome back to the Garden Guide. This is Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. We're celebrating Mother's Day weekend this week at Anderson Seed and Garden. We've got gorgeous hanging baskets in stock. I've got 450 brand new roses that came in this week. Every color you can think of, lots of different styles. Climbers, floribundas, hybrid teas, ground cover. We've got shrub roses as well, too. And the whole nursery is just full, whether it's trees that are in bloom right now. We've got gorgeous perennials that are blooming as well, too. And then the flowers in the annual greenhouse, the vegetables. There's tomatoes and peppers and squashes and melons and cucumbers all through the whole greenhouses. So lots of things going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. A lot of people in getting seeds. I mean, we still have a lot of seed people, seed customers coming in to get their seeds for the year. Since the weather's been cold, it's been kind of wet, it's kind of slowed everybody down getting things planted. So great time to get out there and plant your carrots and your beets and your chard, parsnips, potatoes. I'm hoping to get my potatoes planted tonight. It's a little bit late for me to get my potatoes in, but April just was not very conducive to planting potatoes. But a lot of people are starting to plant their tender crops, beans and corn. Yeah, you'd be taking a chance possibly, but you plant them on Mother's Day weekend, and generally it takes a week or 10 days for them to come up. And by then, we could be past frost. Our last frost is usually around the 20th of May, so plant them now, and they'll be up. Nice, cool, wet weather. It's going to be great for germination on those. Could be a good time to plant those as well, too. So Mother's Day weekend. Always a great time to be at Anderson Seed and Garden with it feeling like spring and smelling like spring inside the greenhouses. But we do have some surprises for the moms that come in today. We'll see how that works out. We've got some nice cookies from the Bluebird that we'll be handing out. So bring your mom in, and we'll have some cookies for them. They will be probably not last all day.
They'll go fast.
They'll go fast. So just so you know, and we'll see how crazy it is at the store today. But it is always a fun weekend to come into Anderson Seed and Garden. So phone lines are open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And we did get another caller, Bill.
Yes, our next caller, Gary from Providence.
Good morning, Gary. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Oh, good morning. I don't know if you've already discussed it, but I just woke up. I got up a little late. And I bought some onion sets the other day, and like 3 or 4 days ago. And is it too early to plant them?
Oh, no. Onions could go in any time. So onions, we can start planting those even the first part of March. So as soon as your soil is workable, you can get those onions out there. So if you got onions this week, did you get the plants or did you get the sets, like the little bulbs, or did you get the plants with the?
No, I got the set.
The sets, yeah, the sets you could plant. You could plant today, and if it snows on Monday, no problem. They will not be bothered by that at all. And the sets are about as
even if the little green tops are coming out?
Yep. Even if the little green tops are coming out, they will be just fine. They can handle the cold. And, we're not going to get that cold. So a little light frost is not going to be too much of a problem. And it probably won't even bother our fruit trees that are in bloom. If we get into the mid-20s, that's when it really does some damage. But we're just talking light frost potentially on Monday and Tuesday. And if it snows, that even kind of insulates the plants as well, too. So onions, no problem, Gary.
Okay, and about the fruit trees, do I need to spray those soon?
Yeah, so we did talk about that at the start of the show. So we're talking about fire blight. So it's a good time to spray for fire blight on apples and pears. Your stone fruits are just dropping their petals, and so it's a great time to apply disease control for those, for like shot hole fungus, for Cornium blight, peach leaf curl, and bacterial canker right after the blossoms drop off. So a good fungicide spray to control that. But for worms on your apples and your pears, that won't be until the first part of June. So if you're worried about codling moth, codling moth, we're gonna start spraying probably that first week of June is what I would suspect, and will be our first spray date for Cache Valley. Other parts of the state will probably be earlier, but we're a little bit slower, and it's cold at night, so the codling moth aren't flying yet. So I would suspect that first, possibly even the second week of June, it will be our first spray date for this year.
Well, that sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for calling this morning, Gary. You have a great weekend.
Okay, great. You too.
All right. Thank you. All right. That opens up our phone lines again, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And, boy, the bugs are coming out like crazy. So we had sprayed our long-lasting insecticide last fall because we had lots of I guess there were stink bugs that were getting all over our backside of our house. And last fall we did a late spray. Hey, it's still killing my box elder bugs. So I had like a pile of dead box elder bugs on the back porch this week with the sun coming out and the warmer temperatures between the box elder bugs and the elm leaf beetles, which look like box elder bugs, are much smaller, but when you crush them, they kind of smell funny. They're coming out like crazy. So there's some great options to get those under control, whether it's bifenthrin, like Bug Blaster from High Yield, or whether you use a permethrin product like Indoor Outdoor, also from High Yield. Those will do a great job at knocking those down, give you a nice long residual. You know, the Bug Blaster lasts about 4 weeks, maybe up to 6 weeks. Get some great control on those. The 38 Plus also lasts 4 to 6 weeks. The Indoor Outdoor from High Yield, just probably 2 to 3 weeks, but it doesn't smell at all, so no smell on that spray. So it's a great one to spray outdoors for whether it's spiders or ants, earwigs, box elder bugs, elm seed beetles, grasshoppers, mosquitoes. Works
all
on
those nice summer
earwigs,
visitors, right?
Yeah, works on all those summer visitors. And the Indoor Outdoor is safe to use on fruits and vegetables. The Bug Blaster is safe to use on all kinds of ornamental plants, so anything that flowers or leaves or turf, you can use that on there. And my extra long-lasting spray that I actually sprayed last fall that's still killing insects this spring is our Seismic. And that Seismic is microencapsulated, so it sticks around for months and continues to kill insects.
Does the earth kind of shake when you first apply that?
When you first apply, yes, the Seismic, yes, and it works awesome. But no broken pottery or furniture or anything. Yeah. But it does such a great job on the insects, and it's very safe to use for people, very toxic for the insects, but you get that nice long residual. You can get 4 to 6 months out of it. So it's an amazing product, especially if it's still killing bugs on my back porch, deck, patio, whatever you'd like to call it, even after all the winter that we've had. So, all right. We've got another caller.
We got Laurie from College Ward.
Good morning, Laurie.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. I probably missed this. I don't know, but you were talking about spraying for fire blight.
Yes.
And we sprayed for fire blight first thing with our dormant spray.
Excellent.
And then I guess I'm not understanding when to spray for the fire blight when they're in blossom. Is it before? Or do you have to do it after too? Or
Great question. So fire blight is most prevalent, and it spreads the most into the trees when they're in bloom. And so you want to spray the tree at least once, maybe twice, while they're in bloom to prevent that bacteria from accumulating in the blossoms and then entering into the tree through the blossoms. And so when your trees, your apples and your pears, your crab apples, your flowering pear, when they hit full bloom, that's when you really want to spray them. And it's kind of critical that you spray either right before or right after a rainstorm, because it's usually when it rains is when it spreads that bacteria from the stamens on the flower where the pollen is. It'll spread that right into the cup of the flower, which it then makes contact with the tree and then gets into the tree that way. And so spraying it while it's in bloom is kind of critical. So we've got a rainstorm coming. We've got flowering pears. We've got fruiting pears that are open right now. We've got apples that are just starting to open up. This is like prime weather conditions after a 70-degree temperature day yesterday. Prime conditions for that bacteria to really spread into the trees and have a really bad fire blight season. So,
okay.
All right.
So I want to do it before or after then.
Right. So today, if you've got trees that are like in full bloom, would be a really good day to spray. Or next week after the rainstorm, after this storm kind of clears out, would be a good time as well too. But if they've hit full bloom and you haven't sprayed them yet, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. And this is all preventatively. This is to prevent the disease from getting in there. So streptomycin sulfate, copper soap, the complete disease control, the garden foss, you could use any of those. And then we also talked about using the garden foss on the trunk for a longer-lasting systemic that would work from the inside out to prevent that disease from spreading if your trees do get infected with it. So,
okay, so I have garden foss and I also have agrifoss. Are they the
same thing? Same thing. It used to be called agrifoss, then they just changed the name to garden foss. So if you're going to spray your tree with that, 1 teaspoon per gallon is all it takes. Really easy to do. Try and spray in the evening when the bees have all gone home. It's not going to hurt your bees, but it's always better to spray when they're not out and active. And now would be a great time to do that preventatively.
Okay. Well, thanks so much.
You are so welcome, Laurie. Happy Mother's Day.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks for calling in this morning, and you have a great one.
Appreciate it. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we've got some phone lines open, 753-5866-873-KVNU, and we've got another caller on the line.
We have Cindy calling in from River Heights.
Good morning, Cindy. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Good morning. I sure enjoy your show. Thank you for all your good advice.
Oh, thank you so much.
I had a question. Last year we bought something that we put in our flower beds where the grass comes up. And it kills the grass, but not my flowers. And
yes.
I forgot what it was called, and I was wondering what that's called and when I should put it in my flower beds so I don't have to pull all that
great
awful
question.
grass.
Was it a spray? Or was it a granule?
So, and there's a liquid. I think we've used both, but I'm just wondering, what do you think is the best?
So the liquid spray would be either the Over the Top by Fertilome or the Grass Killer by High Yield, and it will just kill grass. So you can spray it over ground covers. You can spray it in your roses. You can spray it in raspberries or strawberries. So it's safe to use in a lot of edibles as well as ornamental plants. And it won't hurt your ornamental plants unless it's a grass, but it just kills grass. Yeah. So
kills grass.
Yeah. So
that's what I want. Do you have that?
I do.
If I come in today?
I do.
Okay,
and what I usually tell people is you have to be really careful with it, because if you spray your lawn with it, it'll kill the lawn and leave all the dandelions. And so it won't kill other weeds either. It just kills grass. But once the grass infiltrates into your ground covers and into some of your flower beds and perennials, it's hard to get rid of the grass because you can't pull it out without damaging your other plants.
It is, and I know when you mow the lawn, we have one of those curb things, but some of the grass
sneak through
into those flower beds, and it's like,
it'll sneak through.
It's wonderful. That's great stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Have a great day.
Yes.
And appreciate all your good advice.
Once you get the grass taken care of, Cindy, put down a pre-emergent like Treflan. So High Yield makes a product called the Weed and Grass Stopper, and it's got Treflan in there, and it will stop new grass from coming up. And so once you get the old grass out, you can use the Treflan to prevent new weeds, including other weeds, as well as grasses from coming back in. So it'll kill the seeds before they get started, but it'll actually, if you use it right along the edge of your curbing, it will stop the grass from creeping under your curbing and coming up as well too. It's got some herbicidal properties on the grass, even established grass, so it'll kill that root system of the grass and prevent that from coming back as well too. So that'll help a bunch to prevent it from sneaking back in.
That's great news.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thanks for calling, Cindy, and happy Mother's Day.
Thany you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right, you
Goodbye.
too. All right, bye-bye. Okay, we've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And Bill, who's next?
Gordon from Newton.
Awesome. Good morning, Gordon.
How are we doing this morning?
Doing great. How about you?
Good. As usual, with our low water in the reservoir, we have water on our minds. And so I found my bag of hydrotane that I bought last year, and I thought I'll put that down. Then I vaguely remembered you saying that it has about a 3-month effectiveness, and that we should wait a little bit and put it down later. Was that the case?
That is absolutely correct. So hydrotane, one of the greatest products ever invented, honestly, it will cut your water usage by 30 to 50%. And I think
it's amazing.
I think you experienced that last
really
year.
Is.
Yeah, you experienced that last year. And so it lasts 90 days. So 3 months, you're spot on, Gordon. 3 months. And so I like to put mine on the first part of June so that it will last through the hot, dry part of the summer into like September, Labor Day. That's kind of our target. And if we can get through the hot, dry part of the summer into Labor Day using 30%, 50% less water and still keep your lawn green and beautiful, that's a wonderful goal to have. And so wait on the hydrotane. It would be nice to put it on right now with it raining a little bit, but wait till the first week of June, second week of June, and then you'll get a full summer's worth out of it. And God, what a difference it makes. That's a really awesome product.
Yep. Is there any time that you would use Aqueduct instead of hydrotane? We've used the Aqueduct, but I felt like the hydrotane was way more effective.
The hydrotane lasts longer. The Aqueduct really helps if you're having a hard time getting the soil to absorb the moisture. So like if it's really running off. The hydrotane works that way also. So I use it on some of the south-facing slopes at my house. My mom's got a south-facing slope at her house too, and if we don't put the hydrotane on there, it just scalds. It doesn't matter how much water we put on there, it just scalds. And when it's really hot and dry. And last year we had some really dry spots there and put the hydrotane on and just like fixed it right up. But the Aqueduct is great for getting the soil to absorb and retain the moisture where it's just running right off. And so that would work great in those situations where it's really compacted. I'll use it in compacted areas, and that helps a bunch. But the hydrotane is more really for water conservation and to get that water to be used more effectively by the plants as well, too. It pulls it down into the root zone. So, yeah.
Okay. And I also found a bottle of Garden Foss. Now, remind us of the mix if you're doing a trunk spray, because I'm kind of lazy. I kind of like doing the trunk spray versus the blossom end spray.
I like the trunk spray as well, too. Just keep in mind that it moves about a foot a day through the tree. So if you have a 15-foot tall tree, it's going to take 2 weeks for it to spread all the way up to the top of the tree. It's not going to be instantaneous, so it's going to take some time for it to move up through the tree. You're going to use half and half Garden Foss and water. So you're going to do 1-to-1 ratio on that. So if you've got a pint of Garden Foss, mix a pint of water with it, and then put an ounce of spreader sticker in there to get it to penetrate in through the bark. You could do up to 1 to 2 ounces of the spreader sticker to get that to penetrate into the bark, and then it'll be active as it spreads through the tree that way. So 1-to-1 mix ratio with an ounce or so of a surfactant in with it.
Okay. So, yeah, the drawback is that you're putting on a little heavier, and so you use more, but
yes,
the convenience factor is so much different compared to...
Yeah, and it lasts 3 months also. Yeah. So once you make that application, it's going to last all of May, June, and into July, which is pretty much at that season. You know, by that time in the season, you don't have to worry about fire blight anymore, so you should be in great shape, Gordon.
I have a couple of older apple trees, and they're tall, and they desperately need to be pruned down, but it's tough to hit those ends that are way up high in the air. So. It
is. And then the fire blight spray only comes in a wettable powder. That's hard to mix. And so I really like the Garden Foss because it's easy if you want to spray it. It's just a teaspoon per gallon, so it really goes a long way for your money. It works on those bacterial as well as fungal diseases, and then you can do the bark treatment with it too. It's got some great advantages when it comes to a lot of diseases.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hold off on the Hydrotane, but we'll get on to
Hold off on the Hydrotane. But, we do have a limited supply of Hydrotane. So if you're thinking about being conservative on water this year, as Gordon has said, it lasts 90 days. It cuts your water usage by 30 to 50% on your lawn without seeing decreased green and beauty out of your lawn. I mean, it really makes that much of a difference. And Hydrotane, you want to come in and get it now. It comes in a liquid as well as in a granule. So, Gordon, thanks so much for calling this morning.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Have a great weekend.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Bill, we got another caller.
We have Shelley calling down from Franklin.
Let's get Shelley on before we get to the end of the show. Good morning, Shelley.
Hi, how are you?
Doing great. How about you?
So I am thinking, we have a lot of the goat head plants in our yard. And so if we mow them, are we just spreading the seeds everywhere?
Are you mulching or are you bagging?
Mulching.
You're mulching. The mulch will chop those up pretty well. And the plants, they're very low to the ground. So in most cases, your grass is going to be much taller than the puncture vine, and so it's going to probably not even pick those up in the first place. But there's some very effective sprays to control those in your turf. Like if you don't want to damage the grass, you can use Weed Free Zone from Fertilome. That is an amazing product. Works in cooler temperatures. Works on hard to kill weeds. It will kill the goat's heads and the puncture vine in like 24 to 48 hours. It'll kill them quick. And it does a really great job on controlling those. Goes down and kills the whole root system out. If it's in like a patio area or around the edges of your garden, you may want to go to like Kills All, High Yield Kills All, or the Decimate from Fertilome. That will kill very quickly also, but it will kill grasses as well as weeds, and it's safer to use around a lot of your vegetables and flowers and things that are more susceptible to the weed-free zone, which, if it kills puncture vine, it can kill vegetables and flowers and shrubs and trees as well too. So got to be a little careful with some of those herbicides, but those would be great options to control the goat's heads.
Perfect. All right. And you carry
I do. I've got those in stock, and Weed Free Zone works in cooler temperatures, so even though we're having like 50-degree temperatures for the next 3 or 4 days, it would still work. If you got them today, you'd still see it kill them very nicely. And it's rain fast in about 2 hours, so it will work very, very effectively in weather like what we're experiencing right now. And I don't think I'd worry about mowing those up, because I just think they're low enough to the ground. It's not going to pick up enough to spread all over the place. Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Happy Mother's Day, Shelley. Thanks for calling.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one. All right. Probably don't have time for another caller, so we're getting down to the end there, Bill. So
creeping up towards the top of the hour. So again, I just wanted to ask with the dandelions. I guess the thing is, early when the dandelions first appear, you should kind of leave them alone for a little while, right? And let the bees do their thing.
Let the bees do their thing. But when they start to produce seeds, they're going to spread all over the place. So then it's a good time to spray and get rid of those weeds. And dandelions are perennials, so they don't just die off in the wintertime. Yeah. They just come back. And so a lot of the dandelions that we're seeing right now, they germinated last year after the hot, dry summer. So then they got established in the fall, and now they're showing up and starting to bloom and looking, very colorful out in a lot of yards.
Nice view, but it just creates some hassles.
So if you'd like to control those, or morning glory, or thistles, or mallow, or clover, some of those really hard to kill weeds in your lawn, the Weed Free Zone from Fertilome is probably one of the very best products to get that under control, because it's very forgiving. If the weather's cooler, if the weather's wetter, it will still work great. It's rain fast after 2 hours. It works in temperatures as low as 45 degrees for a daytime temperature. It works on those hard to kill weeds, and we get a nice warm sunny day like yesterday. It will work really fast. You'll see it curl those weeds up just even in a few hours sometimes. So it's a great way to get weeds out of your lawn.
So if I sprayed it this afternoon, it's okay that it's it's going to precipitate tonight.
It will
still
work amazingly well. If you put a little surfactant in it, like a spreader sticker, that would make it even more effective, and it will start working even faster. And so that would be a great option. But yes, you could definitely spray the weed-free zone today. And even if it rains later tonight or tomorrow and it snows on Monday, it will still kill those weeds. It'll just take a little bit longer. It just won't react as quickly, so you won't see the damage as fast that way. So,
It'll still do the job.
Yeah, it is Mother's Day weekend, so happy Mother's Day to all those mothers out there. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the things that you do for us. And to celebrate Mother's Day, we've got hanging baskets at Anderson Seed and Garden. Make great gifts for Mom. We've got gorgeous flowering trees. We've got roses. We've got 450 roses came in this week. They look amazing. And so lots of beautiful flowering plants. I've got some nice tropicals, some mandevilla. I've got a few bougainvillea as well. And some citrus. We've got a few lemons and limes in. And I think there's a few of those left as well still. So we brought some really fun, different things in for Mother's Day. And we might be giving out some cookies today. So make sure and bring your mom in to Anderson Seed and Garden. And hopefully we don't run out too fast, but we might have a cookie for you as well, too. So from the Bluebird. So from Bluebird Candy Factory. They're awesome to work with, and they're right next door to us. So you can get a hanging basket, get some chocolates, go to Great Harvest, get a loaf of bread, and you're like set for Mother's Day. So thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another edition of The Garden Guide.
Spinning out of control. Get it all here. News Talk KVNU Logan, 610 AM and